Ooh, that dirt's not going to help him as we got Espes, who has been saving fuel. Does he have enough to finish this lap going all out? Taking a look down the inside as he gets covered up. Oh, we're going to go 3 wide into the hairpin.
3 wide. Hawkin makes it stick on the right side. Better run for Williams on the left. Espes chooses the left as well. Hawkin now stuck side by side as Espes goes for a 3 wide move. Heading towards Cunningham. Espes buoys his way back up to the point. Williams with the preferred line. Hawkin makes it 3 wide again. Hawkin and Williams late break. Side by side still.
Toulonen's got one of the best runs we've seen from him yet, and this could be the overtake he's been looking for. He pulls up on him, staying to the inside. Partsinen stays down low as they come towards the braking into 1 and 2. A little bit of a back off from Tolonen, even though he's good on the binders. Oh, but he shakes him off the racing line and pulls the over-under, and he gets past Partsinen.
Gonna poke his nose to the inside, going down into turn 10. That sweeping right-hander. Oh, contact! Newhook gets the worst of it.
He tries to woe it up. Can he? He does keep it on course, amazingly. I thought he was going to have to cut the chicane, but now look at all of them swamping side to side as there's a little bit of a brush into the right front fender of Newhook's car. Now a little bit of banging between himself and Cowgill, trying to hold on to it. They are getting rough out there. We still have 28 minutes to go.
Joe, that was almost 4 wide coming down into turn 1. I don't know if I've ever seen that much aggression here out of these MX-5s.
Under braking, who is the bravest here? More lap traffic in front of him. It looks like Reynolds goes a little bit deeper, but is it too deep? No, he gets ahead. Thomas O'Leary cannot hold him back. Blake Reynolds is back up to the point, fighting back now. It's going to come down through the stadium section and the inside with Thomas O'Leary. The shorter line and a spin from Blake Reynolds gives it up. Get one more good shot here, but passing into Rents. I don't know about that. Side by side in the last corners will be sketchy. Lap traffic staying out of the way. Hammer defends to the inside. Burns around the long way. And he's going to have to take to the runoff because there's a little bit of nudge between them. Comes back to the racetrack, but he's behind as Hammer exits the final corner. Hammer is going to take the win here at Austria. This series has traipsed across the globe. Tonight, it'll add to the tally of countries and bring us to a grand total of 10 by holding the penultimate race in Canada. And while this land is known as a place of polite people, its tracks are the complete opposite. Mosport will put all the drivers on their guard as we get ready to watch round 23 of the Porsche Owners Club Series Sim Racing Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. With everything from Formula One to IMSA and even NASCAR holding races here, it's surprising that the circuit has seen little change in its history. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or as most fans know it, Mosport. This circuit to the northeast of Toronto is a rarity in the world of racing today. Safety standards and the desire for more overtaking opportunities has caused most tracks to alter their layouts over the years. But Mosport is still exactly the same footprint as it was when it was built in 1961. A mere 11 turns, most of which are high-speed sweepers, are dispersed among 2.5 miles or just shy of 4 kilometers. The only alterations to the turns have been to the runoff areas, but otherwise the radii, camber, and elevation changes are all untouched. Because cars have continued to get faster through the passage of time, it's made this place a fearsome beast to tackle. Clayton Corner is particularly notorious. The blind crest and steep plunge combined with incredibly high speeds to create a punishing combination. Without many heavy braking zones, passing is often difficult. And other than using the slipstream up the Mario Andretti Straight, the only other option is usually Moss Corner. This double apex hairpin is named after Sir Sterling Moss for his suggestion to redesign it after he saw its initial layout. While the plateau-like middle portion and critical exit onto the backstretch certainly give it plenty of character, the heavy compression at the bottom of the hill that causes a frighteningly short braking zone makes this one not for the faint of heart. Formula One, USAC, and IMSA have all taken their turns here, but recently NASCAR has joined the fray by holding a round for the Truck Series. Old school fans can rejoice for the enduring popularity of this bastion of untouched tarmac, but any motorsports enthusiast can't help but smile at the thrill Mosport continues to provide. Well, DJ, it is double points tonight, which is appropriate because this place, to me, is double the difficulty.
It most certainly is, Joe. When you talk about Mosport, you are talking about an incredibly difficult track where overtaking is at an absolute premium. And especially in these GT machines, corners like Clayton and Quebec are going to be especially difficult getting the braking zones right. You've got to be applying a lot of steering lock as you're putting the brakes on, so you've got to be careful about those front tires not locking. And then after that, you lead into the world infamous Moss hairpin. It is so very difficult there to get that absolutely right, but it is crucial to try to set up a pass, because really the only place that we have been able to see a lot of good overtaking get done is down the Mario Andretti straightaway and into the S's, and even there you have really got to hang the car out and have big commitment to be able to make the move work.
No doubt about that. And, well, before we get to the racing here real quick, we want to mention our sponsors, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to OctavioTequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Now, with the double points, things have gotten interesting, and apologies as we misreported last week that the championship was clinched in the GT2s. We'll get to those in a second. First, here is the GT1s, which is definitely still on, and especially here with the points that you see on your screen. Now, since it is 40 points for a win instead of 20, it gets to be interesting because the drop points will mean if we get a DNF for Brown, who leads coming in, and a win for Latvala at max points, it will still be Brown leading, but by a single point over him, because he'll get 2 of those drop points back to his tally. From there, Michael Johnson could maybe try and get back into things. Actually, no, he cannot, excuse me, because there's only 60 points max on order. So Michael Johnson is actually mathematically eliminated, as is everybody behind him. But everyone down there, you see Salehi and Fulton still pretty close amongst them. Now we get to the GT2s, where it gets even more fascinating.
It does indeed, Joe. And as we said, Jerry Freckleton is not the champion quite yet. And John Mohmeyer, well, what he needs is a lot of luck on his side to be able to pull this off. If Freckleton DNFs and Mohmeyer wins, that means it'll be a 6-point gap separating the two. You can do the math from there on out. technically speaking, there is a chance for Marc Rondeau to pull this off as well. But that is a very, very slim chance. As you said, 60 points available on the docket here. A good close battle, though, for P4 between Edwards and Duncan. And Duncan, who has been capitalizing again and again on his quick pace during qualifying. We'll have to see how that battle shakes out.
I do think Rondeau is also out. It is 60 points, but Freckleton has at least 10 drop points waiting for him, which would put him fully clear of Rondeau, no matter what happens to Freckleton from here on out. So, as we take a look at the race details, it is round 23 out of 24. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty at this point. And there's the two different classes that they are running as usual, the Cayman and the RSR GTE spec class, which sadly is going to be leaving us soon in the real world. It's a 30-minute event as usual. So that doesn't change. It is just the points that are on tally that are different. And it is an open setup series. Hopefully drivers have managed to find a comfortable setup out here, since it is so fast and flowing and it is so punishing. Right now in qualifying, it's very tight for the GT1 pole with only 0.03 of a second between Oost and Latvala, but Latvala hasn't been out there for a minute and he's just getting back on to try and put some laps in. Let's see if he can do anything. Duncan, however, has a massive gap of 0.7 over Michael Raban.
Yeah, as I've said, Jad Duncan has been the qualifier extraordinaire in the past couple of sessions, and he is continuing that here today. Very, very close fight, though, it has to be said, between Raban, Rondeau, Freckleton, and Schulem. Even Edwards poking his nose in there, less than half a second there between second and sixth place. John Momeyer, a little bit off the pace of the GT2s. He's also been having some internet issues tonight, so we hope he will be okay and keep this championship alive.
Yeah, there was a bit of a brief panic before we came live that when Momeyer disappeared from the session, that maybe he actually would get the DNF and could set up that close battle going into the final rounds, depending on what would happen with his rival. But he is out there and he is going to try and run. And 7th is the lowest that he can finish. I'll need to double check and see what the points would be for that if he doesn't DNF. He could still DNF and you get a single point for that out there if you do start the race. But that is according to how many laps you complete, as we watch Corey Latvala that time by, still not able to top his 1:12.010. He was very close that time with a 1:12.082. So he is finding speed, and with 5 minutes left, it is still very much game on.
Yes, it is indeed, Joe. And for Latvala here, he has just got to try to push ahead the best that he can. Track temperature 75 degrees. It's only about 10 to 8 in the morning, virtual standard time, so it'll get warmer as this race goes along. That may be able to help Corey. A 75-degree track temperature is very, very chilly, and so not necessarily the best conditions for racing around here. Corey's going to have to hope he can get a little something.
Indeed will, as Michael Johnson has some troubles there through turn 8 with a big bobble, but he catches it nicely. Not sure this will be a fast lap, because that we'll see as he comes through. 1:12.1 is his fastest, and yeah, he was definitely about over a second beyond that, as a 1:13.3 will not improve his time. He's got to watch out because Travis Brown has just come out onto the track behind him. As you see a bit of an off with Jacob Abrams there, and still struggling to get control of the car down through Clayton. Brown is only about 13 thousandths off of Michael Johnson, so he could snatch that third place away from him as well. And start position, track position will be key out here today. It is not necessarily all that easy to overtake.
No, it's really, really not. And even in cars like this, where you're not dealing with as much as aero wash as you would, say, in an open wheeler around here. We've seen Indy cars, Formula 3 machines come out on this track a lot of the times. But really what makes it so difficult, it's the lack of heavy braking zones. The only time you're really cycling down through the gears and getting down into first or second is Moss Hairpin. And because of the line you have to take going into that corner, Joe, it's just next to impossible to actually get a move done there. It's almost impossible to go too wide, let alone try to get a pass.
I've seen them go wrong plenty of times for sure. And Brown just getting ready to start a flyer since he just exited from pit lane. So let's see what he can do as he swings it down through the first corner and is clean through there. No, I spoke too soon. That's a wheel off, so that lap already discounted for him.
Yep, and Michael Ost able to bump his way up to the top there. A good time now for him, able to grow it out a little bit.
So that puts him a little bit more clear from Corey Latvala, who now has to make up a whole 10th and some change to try and overtake him in qualifying. There's no bonus for the pole, but like we were saying, track position is probably going to be the desirable aspect here today, as you see the red and black number 22 come through the S's and up to White's corner. Let's see if this was a clean one, and let's see if it was a fast one. Out of the final turn, gives a little bit of width to the curb on the outside, and it's a 1:12.4. That's certainly not his quickest.
No, it's not. And you're right, Joe. It looked like he was trying to deliberately keep that car off of the curb a little bit. That may have just been a little bit of subconscious fright, frankly, let us say, as he goes around there. Very easy to let the car run a little bit too far wide there, and you'll find yourself spinning around and facing the wall. Oh, that was Michael Johnson, I believe, that just had an off behind Corey.
Yep, I think that was indeed. But on screen here, we've got Paul Newton trying to see if he can put himself out of last on the GT1 grid. He's got about half a second to make up. So he's not been as quick here in the GT1s as he was down in the GT4 cars last season. And I'm sure he'll be glad to see it switched up, as we're going to be moving over to the GT3 class Porsches in 2022. That lap not faster for him, still a 1:17.3. In fact, that was way off the pace for him. So it's not looking good for Mollmeyer right now, because he's still stuck down in 7th. Freckleton's in 4th. That's the good news for him, as Freck has got a bit of work of his own to do, but he's about half a 10th off. Well, he's going to end his qualifying here, because he's not going to have time to get back out and start a new one at this rate. So the best we'll see from our points leader is 4th place.
Well, Joe, it's been a little bit of the MO of Jerry Freckleton in the later half of this season. We've seen him not put in the best times and just sort of work his way up via attrition. So that may be what Jerry is trying to do here today. Jeffrey Shulam, you just saw cross the line. He was unable to go faster on that last lap, but he's going to be hoping for a little bit more here, as this will be his last one, I believe.
Michael Johnson did not go quicker, but he just started his last flyer. I saw Corey Latvala exit the pits just now, so he's not going to be able to put in a time because he doesn't have enough left to start one. He'll get the checkered flag before he gets on a good lap. And BJ Fulton just spun out, so he's done for the day. We've got 20 seconds left, and it looks like Shulam... Shulam will be our first to take the checkered flag. He's going to be passed by Latvala, but again, he is not able to start one.
Yeah, indeed. So there goes Corey screaming on by there. So Shulam will be the first one to take the flag, we believe, as they come down here. This is really the first part of the lap where you can breathe, Joe. It's when you get onto the Mario Andretti straightaway. Oh, and it looks like Shulam's going to pull off to the side.
He does, and, well, everybody has ended their lap. Nobody is going to be able to complete one. Our qualifying has finished. Latvala just going to complete it for the heck of it here, and he'll take that checkered flag. And that pretty much officially wraps it up. It's going to be Michael Ost who starts it on the pole this time. Corey Latvala could not chase him down, but they still seem relatively tight on pace. Could give us a fun run as long as they don't have a bit of an issue off the start like they did at Summit Point. Michael Johnson will start from 3rd. It'll be Travis Brown in P4, and his hopes of holding back Latvala. Those double points could hurt him, though, today if he doesn't make up a position or two to try and minimize the damage to his rival. BJ Fulton will start from 5th, and the outside of row 3 has Jacob Abrams, and it's Paul Newton who starts from 7th and last of the GT1 class.
In those GT2s, Jad Duncan continues his run of good qualifying pace, and he'll be flanked by Michael Robon, with Mark Rondeau and your points leader Jerry Freckleton in row 2. Jeffrey Shulam will start off in 5th, followed by Aaron Edwards, and John Momeyer brings up the back of the field in 7th in class.
So we let the clock tick down to 0, and the drivers will now be able to grid up. And thankfully this time for them, it will be a rolling start. They had a standing start last time, which caught a few drivers out by surprise. So this is a little bit more traditional for the Porsche Owners Club. And already most of them taking it out to the grid to get going here today. The good news is they do have a couple spare cars waiting for them. So while damage is a possibility for a number of them, DJ, they've at least got an ace up their sleeve to try and get back out there, especially with for those who are vying for championships or for championship position, knowing that they need to make the best of today.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. And you know, I don't think you're going to see a driver come down pit lane today, end up winning the race. But for guys like Freckleton, guys that are trying to close down and just keep a maximum amount of points there, I think that having that spare car available, if there is a mistake, it's not exactly out of the question to see some kind of kerfluffle here into turn 1. It's a very high-speed corner. Tires aren't really going to be up to temperature. In fact, track temp has dropped a degree since we last checked in. It's now 74 degrees out on track. So that spare car is going to come in a whole bunch of handy.
Absolutely. Well, the good news for Freckleton in terms of that championship, the easy way to determine if he will clinch it today is if he is 15 points ahead of Momeyer by the end of the race. If that's the case, because of his drop points, he cannot be caught. So Freckleton will be able to go into the final rounds with too many points to be overcome. As for Brown, that one is going to be a little bit more difficult because he's got to be 18 points ahead. He only has 2 drop points that he will have in hand come the final rounds. So 18 points ahead of Corey Latvala, and he has clinched after this race is over. But it could see big swings out there because of those double points, so everybody is going to be just that little bit more eager. I'm kind of wondering if we'll see drivers get more aggressive because of that today, DJ.
We might, Joe. I think it's going to be either a massive amount of aggression out of these drivers who are fighting for points in the championship, or it's going to be a massive amount of caution for them. There's not really going to be an in-between, I think. You're going to see probably a mix of styles out there, and I think certainly for guys like Jad Duncan, that's going to be an aggressive go for him. But I think for some of the guys who are out in the lead that just want to preserve, they may see it a little bit more cautious.
Makes sense to me as they come out of Moss Corner and now up the Andretti Straight. This is another one of those tracks that those who are keen to the real world circuit might be going, well, wait a minute, there's a few things missing. And yes, it does not have some of the paved runoff that you see in the real world because it has since been changed since this one was scanned. We're actually seeing an update on that as well with another track. Watkins Glen is coming. Much to my dismay, they're going to have a lot of paved runoff in a few spots there. But that is a very popular circuit that I'm sure is going to make plenty of road fans as well as some oval fans happy.
Yeah, exactly. It's always good to see a good rescan, and not only will those patches of runoff come into play, but also just the nature of the track that changes over time. You know, obviously Watkins Glen and Mosport here get cold at certain times of the year, and that does change the complexion of the asphalt.
It gets a little bumpy. But the good news is part of that was because they repaved Watkins Glen. And we got the green flag here, so we'll see if they can handle some of those bumps from the winter, as Ost does not have the greatest of starts. Latvala coming around his outside into turn 1, but he starts to drop back. They go single file throughout the GT1s. What about the GT2s?
Well, back in those GT2s, Joe, it was a good start for Jad Duncan, but Michael Robon caught a little bit napping, and Mark Rondeau able to get his number 171 around him.
Mohmeier still stuck in last on the field, though. Freckleton still in fourth. No change between our two championship rivals out there as Ost plunges through 4 and into Moss Corner. Lotvilla gave it a good shot at the start. Oh, and way too wide for Ost. Ost goes off. He's going to be able to get back onto the track, but he lost the lead. And now Johnson is going to try and get by as it's a drag race up the Andretti Straight.
It was indeed Michael Ost, a very, very lucky driver not to have completely lost the car at that point. And look at that, they're towing along Travis Brown in a really nice way. There, come down the Mario Andretti straightaway into the S's. It's going to favor Johnson at the start, but then it'll switch back. Ost a little bit later on the brakes, though, able to pull ahead.
Just barely. It is tight between second, third, and fourth as Travis Brown poked his nose, but it looks like an off for Paul Newton into the S's, sent him into the tires, and he is going to slip not just to the back of his class, but as well to the back of the GT2s just about.
Yeah, it just looked like he carried a little bit too much speed there into the S's. He may have locked up the rear brakes ever so slightly, and that's what sent him around and spinning. But now he's got to be the first of these GT1 machines, these GTE machines, to get their way forward in traffic.
Yeah, and he's caused a little bit of headache amongst them. He just went by Freckleton. And, Brown and Johnson fighting side by side, and Brown's going to try and pass him in a Moss Corner, but he's discovering the difficulties you talked about as he goes deep, and Johnson is right back by, looks to maybe squeeze him, gives him just enough space, and now the momentum is back in favor of the 300 machine.
It is indeed. There they go, working their way down again, and directly behind them, that is Schum. Oh, we're 3 wide almost.
That's Abrams who's trying to get in there, but he backed out of it when he saw things got a little sketchy, and back up to P3. Johnson will fend off Travis Brown, but that cost him a lot of time to Ost. And so that'll be good for Ost because we should mention that he won last round, and it was his first win of the season. So this pole looked like a continuum of form, and unfortunately kind of threw it away a little bit there on that first lap. I'm sure he'd love to try and make that back up and make it back to back.
Would indeed, but as you saw that flash across your screen, Corey Lotvilla, your current leader in the GTE field, not making it easy, setting the fastest lap of the race last time out in that 22. There he is on your screen as he makes his way towards Moss Corner.
Up and through that double apex hairpin and onto the backstretch. Ost, though, still within a second of him. Oh, and Abrams just had an off. BJ Fulton manages to get by him. That happened in Moss, just sending himself way too deep into the corner, and I think he only grazed the wall.
He only grazed it, but he's definitely got some damage to the right front of that Porsche, so that's not going to be the best day there for Jacob Abrams.
It is not. And so we step back up to Lotvilla, but that's a little spread out compared to Johnson and Brown for that third place because Travis is still hounding him. You can see it on screen within 0.3 of a second. So Michael Johnson comes down through turn 1, heading up towards Clayton. I'm going to take a wild stab that this is probably one of those tracks that he has run in real life. IMSA has frequently visited this place, and so I suspect that he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. Jad Duncan! Jad Duncan has wrecked out of the lead.
Oh my goodness, that is the leader of the GT2 field. You can see he has spun it coming through the S's. I think that's a very similar incident to what we saw out of Paul Newton earlier in this race.
It is. Let's take a look at the replay here on the 83. He did make contact with the wall, but he's got it going. He falls to last place in the GT2 class. Hopefully it's not too much damage. And the bad news is, well, the engine is closer to the back of the car here. Well, no, it's not in the Cayman, excuse me. It's at the front of the Cayman.
Yeah, Cayman is the exception to that Porsche line. It is a front engine machine. There you see it again. Joe, the only explanation there I really have is twofold. Number one, a little bit too much speed into the corner, and I think he had just a little bit too much steering lock in as he had tried to apply the brakes, and it looks like those rear brakes just may have snatched on him.
Oof. Okay, well, this will get interesting because he's still within reach of the last car, the next to last car in the field. That's John Mohmeier, as another spin from Jacob Abrams on the front stretch. He is struggling today with this car. Now, he didn't hit anything, thankfully, just kind of went drift style through White's corner. and keeps it going, still ahead of Paul Newton as well, as we come back to Johnson and Brown vying for the final step on the podium.
Indeed, they are, and I've been keeping an eye on their sector times here. Now, Joe, Sector 1 basically stops just before the descent going down into Moss Corner, and then Sector 2 ends right at the end of the Andretti straightaway. Michael W. Johnson is faster in Sector 2 and Sector 2 only. Those are the only areas that he is able to keep a gap over Travis Brown.
Oh, and Chad Duncan just had another off. Double checking on that. Ooh, and it's the same corner. He went wide, breezed up against the tires at one point, and then smacked the other ones in the S's. He kept it going, though. He didn't come into pit lane. He's got to be dealing with at least a little damage after that one. But we come back to Brown and Johnson. So, yeah, I wonder if Michael's trimmed it out and is just flying up the straight, but struggling through all the twisty bits.
Well, that may be a little bit of that real-life knowledge that Michael has to be able to run this track. He knows that if he can manage a car that may be a little bit looser, not as fast through the corners, that just running on the straight at full tilt, he'll be able to go and get some good speed. The one good thing for him is I think Michael Ost may have made a mistake on that last lap. He dropped a second to Michael W. Johnson, and Johnson is now getting the benefit of the toe of him.
Checking to see. And, yeah, I'm not seeing anything crazy out of him. Must have been early on the previous lap. But right now, Johnson now down to 0.9 of a second. And this time, Travis Brown not close enough to try and attack. Yeah, with most of the passes usually happening at the end of that Andretti straight, Johnson makes himself a very tough cookie to try and overtake. And we're just about a third of the way through of this event already, with Latvala still leading since the first lap, having overtaken our pole sitter Michael Ost, and Rondeau inheriting the lead after Duncan made a mistake. And Rondeau certainly making good on that one.
Yes, he is just pulling away there. Duncan has had another off. This time it looks like at the exit of Quebec.
Not sure what is going wrong with Duncan, but this is highly uncharacteristic. Usually he is lightning quick and very fast whenever he shows up. He's not in for the championship. He's already got 3 wins to his name this season, but man, this is a bit of an off week.
Yeah, indeed. Mosport, it's one of those tracks. It's a little bit like Phillip Island that we visited a while back, Joe. You either love this place or you hate this place. And I'm going to put my money down that Chad Duncan is probably in the category of the latter.
So Rondeau, another one that's had a turn of form at the end of the season, had a win at Long Beach and then had another one at Bathurst. So based on what I know about this track, I get the sense that Marc Rondeau likes tough tracks where it's all about survival.
Yeah, that's the sense I'm getting as well, but he does have a big gap to try to make up. No, excuse me, he's leading. He has no gap. I don't know why I said
and that was very tight as Latvala was trying to weave past Robon and Freckleton. And somebody is off here. Oh, that's Michael Ost. And he falls down to 5th now.
He does. I'm not sure if there was contact there with the GT2 car or if that was just a little bit too much speed there through Clayton, but one way or the other, that is Michael Ost off. Let's check out the replay.
No, that doesn't look like contact to me. He just sent it in too hot. Thankfully got it wound up pretty well before he smashed into the tires, so I don't think he hit them very hard, and he was broadside, so that's good news. Oh, if we come back, Travis Brown is side by side with Michael Johnson, and he almost manages to get by before they hit traffic, but it's not going to be there. And Rondeau checks him up. Brown almost spins. Everybody has to duck to the inside of him coming off of White's corner. He loses third place to Fulton, who has just been picking them off bit by bit.
He has indeed. BJ just being very patient. Whoa, that was a big moment there from Travis Brown in the back. He got that left rear tire off into the grass, and that almost threw that car into the wall.
Oh, but Ost is into the wall. This time he fully hits the tires coming out of Clayton, and he's going to be able to back it up. The nose doesn't look too bad from that. So he's going to carry on. There's no scheduled pit stops in this race, so drivers will not want to come in like Jad Duncan is doing right now to probably take a spare car.
Yeah, Jad obviously has a lot of damage to that car. And as you noted earlier, getting that bop in the front here of these GT1 Porsches, the GTE cars, it's not going to do any damage to the engine. He should be relatively okay, but there is Duncan coming back out after his fast repair.
Yeah, he's a full 45 seconds behind Momire. This is not looking good for him. He's going to have to hope that somebody else wrecks out for him to get anything but 7th place today. As we take a look at Corey Latvala, getting close to the halfway mark. He's got a 3-second gap over Michael Johnson. Michael confided to me outside of the races that he really wants to try and take a win without a teammate. The only win he's got to his name so far this season has been at the team race at Auto Club Speedway. And he's up to 2nd with not too big of a gap to try and close down. The question is, does he have the speed?
Well, Corey Latvala has looked pretty quick and unassailable today after assuming the lead from Michael Ost. Gap's hovering now at about 2.6 seconds. There you can see a visual representation on your screen. So this is certainly doable, but Michael's really got to put the pedal to the metal here.
Our pole sitter has decided to come in and take a spare car. He's back out and rolling, so the 73 also in last place and also with a big gap to make up to the next car. It's looking like about 20 seconds to Abrams in P6 as we follow the purple number 9 coming out of the final corner and across the line once again. Last lap for Latvala, a 13.5. Oh, it was a 13.2 for Johnson. He is gaining.
Yes, he is. So and that's Latvala! Latvala into the wall!
Oh, no, I saw him come upon some traffic. Did that... I think it did. It put him offline. That was Jad Duncan, and he spun it, touching the grass. Michael Johnson inherits the lead, and he's now got a 5-second gap to the nearest car.
There he goes, moving it ahead. Yeah, Jad Duncan, they're causing that, and that is Jacob Abrams having another off in the background.
I said it would be a tricky track, and they're going to have to earn these double points today. It's just a bit of a shame for Michael Johnson that it's coming too little too late, getting 40 points to... actually, this might overtake Latvala for him because Latvala is going to finish 4th. There's the replay of what happened to Corey.
Yeah, Joe, and basically there, no fault of Jad Duncan's. Duncan, you can see, tried to stick to the inside and give that line. Corey just had a little bit too much speed around the outside to try to go down there. That corner, as well as plunging downhill, is slightly off camber. It crowns a little bit. If you take the inside line, you get some nice on-camber action. If you take the outside line, it breaks away from you and wants to throw you off into that grass, and that's exactly what happened to Corey.
He's got a lot of ground to make up from here. He's about 11.5 seconds off the lead. If he can catch the lead, it'll depend on what happens to those in front of him as we take a look at BJ Fulton, who has now been bumped up to 2nd place. This is a driver that started in 5th. I think it was even down in 6th after the first lap as well. And has just been doing what Michael Johnson has been doing, staying steady and letting everybody else make the mistakes. But Travis Brown is coming back at him, and he's going to get the slipstream a little bit up the Andretti straight.
He is indeed, and Brown has been gaining a lot the last couple of laps. Obviously, BJ had a little bit of problem with traffic on the last lap. That cost him about 0.8 of a second or 0.7 of a second, but able to hold off Travis Brown here for now. But I'd watch out for that 300 machine. I think there's some good speed in it.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that he was trying to challenge on Johnson, I think there is something underneath that right foot. And he's got it down to 0.2 of a second now as they cross the line, just about at that halfway mark exactly. And I was able to check and see what the points would be. Johnson, if he wins, would get 40, and it's a 20-point difference down to fourth place if Latvala finishes where he is right now. Johnson is more than 20 points behind Corey at Latvala, but not by a lot. I think it is 27 that is between them. So that would definitely put him within distance of maybe seeing second place in the championship.
All right, so those combinations and permutations starting to play themselves out here. We focus back on BJ Fulton. I just did a quick check on the comparison to our leader, Michael W. Johnson. BJ, even having to drive in his rearview mirror here, remains faster than Johnson. So that is something to keep in mind. He is gaining and gaining and gaining, as is Travis Brown. This looks like a move to the outside.
Defense from BJ Fulton, shallow into the corner, but manages to hold on to it. Brown can't do anything that time. Let's see, Johnson a 13.4 as he crosses. Oh, it was a poor exit out of whites for BJ Fulton, so it might be Brown whose time we want to see, and indeed it is, as he takes that second place away from BJ Fulton. And that was a 13.8 from Travis Brown. That was even with fighting with a 277, only 0.4 slower than Michael Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely some room to make up here, I think. But Michael W. Johnson has the gap at about 6.7 seconds. BJ Fulton, though, not wanting to give that position away. I think he's going to try to close into the back of Travis Brown. Let's now see how that 277 responds to being in the draft off of Moss Corner.
Well, to put the plot on high heat and stir it until it thickens, Corey Latvala is the fastest among those top four with a 13.0 last time through. And he is indeed making up time. The question is that pace enough to try and catch them?
Well, those are the questions that we're going to find out here on the final 13 minutes of this race. There you can see Corey, and you could also see BJ just flashing in the background of the screen. So Corey's got some work to do, but he's got a shot.
Ooh, and Freckleton just went by Momire. Actually, when did he fall behind him? I have to double check on that. But that's bad news for Momire because he needs to finish ahead of Freckleton here if he wants a hope at the championship. If he does not finish ahead of him, that is for sure championship over in the GT2s.
Yeah, exactly. I think Freckleton may have just had a little bit of a bobble at some point on the track, but now he is back ahead. And as you said, him being in that position means he will for sure claim championship tonight.
That is our leader in the GT1s coming up behind him. This is something we hadn't talked about either. I have to think Johnson's a smart driver. He's not going to try and push the issue with this traffic, but that will also still cost him if he lets them hold him up. And guys like Brown, Fulton, Latvala will be trying to take advantage of that at every opportunity.
Yeah, indeed they will, and it's already cost him a little bit there, I think, in that second sector. There was a lot of time lost, it looks like, as the gap is down to under 6 seconds. It's about 5.3. Yeah, he lost a full second dealing with that traffic.
Wow. Okay, as he crosses the line, yeah, 14.9 bears to what you were saying, and Travis Brown was a 13.3 that time through, so 1.3 seconds faster. Latvala, a 13.1. Once again, he was the quickest of any of the four.
Indeed he was, and that is him trying to work that's Travis Brown trying to work his way around that lap track. That's Jerry Freckleton. Latvala already closed that gap down to about 1.5 seconds.
Let's give some love to our leader in the GT2s as well, because Rondeau is still looking set for a third win as it runs. It's about 2.7 seconds over Robon in the 929. And then it's an even bigger gap to the next rival at the bottom step of the podium. That is Jeffrey Shulam, who's having a nice quiet run himself.
Yes, he is, and this has just been a very, very commanding drive from the 171 of Marc Rondeau, just absolutely pulling away here and holding on to that gap of about 3 seconds.
Out onto the front stretch and back into the first corner once again, just ticking off the laps. They don't take too long, even in the GT2 class cars. As Rondeau's lapping 123s pretty consistently out there today. In the meantime, behind him, that's Michael Johnson going around Robon. second place in the GT2, trying to avoid the same issue that Corey Latvala had into Clayton Corner and managing to easily get by the slower class car. What about here through turn 4? Yeah, nice job just picking his line. It's still down to about 3.7 seconds. Brown, last time through, was experiencing some of that traffic. I see a 14.9 to his name on lap 16. So Brown's starting to suffer just like Johnson has been.
Yeah, indeed he was. But crucially, Brown was about 0.6 of a second faster than Johnson on that last lap, even with that big amount of traffic. So thankfully here it looks like they've got some clean running. Michael Ost is, now it's Jad Duncan is the next one up the road from them. So it'll be some clear sailing for Michael Johnson. And this is, I think, we're going to be able to see actually what the natural pace of these two cars are.
Other thing that we have to consider in this is the championship and what these double points will do if they finish as they sit. Well, Brown would get 30 points, and again, it was 20 for Latvala. There's 39 between them. The 10-point difference would mean that's not enough, and Brown would clinch. Well, excuse me, actually, Latvala is behind him. So, yeah, Latvala needs to beat Brown right now, so I got them reversed. As it finishes, Brown would clinch the championship coming into the finale.
Would indeed, and I've got to say here that Corey, though, has still a lot of speed. We've been keeping our eyes a little bit on this battle, and literally the last 2 laps, Corey Latvala has been a second a lap faster than his rival of BJ Fulton.
Ooh, had a bit of a spin. Was that coming out of Quebec there? Yeah, it was. And that was the car of Robon. So it went from 2.5 seconds up to 8.5 now, and that is Shulam, who has a shot at trying to take that second place away from Michael. That's if he can keep the speed up. He's caught him because of the spin. The question is now, can he do something with it?
Well, and they can't spend too much time squabbling here, Joe, because that's Aaron Edwards and Jerry Freckleton that you saw in the back of your shot, and they could very easily catch up and try to make a move on them. Oh, that was, though, Corey Latvala almost having a look on BJ Fulton going down into turn 1.
He's already caught up to him, and he did take a big poke, but he was not able to get past. He's got great speed, but look at the defensive line from BJ. He'll try and go clear around the outside of Quebec. It's hard to keep it from drifting into the grass here, but he manages it, and he's got more momentum as Corey Latvala has the nose ahead down through turn 4 into Moss Corner. That's job done. He's now into third.
Wow, that is just sheer force of will alone getting Corey Latvala out and ahead. That was a gutsy move, and now he is going to set his sights 2.7 seconds up the road to Travis Brown.
Again, he needs to beat Travis, and he needs to outscore him. Let's see. He needs to make up 19 points on him. So effectively what Corey needs to do is win and have Brown finish 4th place. So 3rd or higher for Travis Brown should still clinch the championship.
All right, but we have about 6.5 minutes here to go at Mosport, and as we've seen, just about anything can happen, so let's not count those ducks quite yet.
Absolutely. As they come through into Clayton once again, it's 5. Oh my goodness. He's cut this down by 6 seconds. In about, that was 10 minutes or so, I think it was.
Yeah, that's about right. This is all starting to bunch up at the front. Latvala able to pull the gap in a little bit more, as has Travis Brown to Michael Johnson.
Johnson spun. Johnson spun through Moss. I just looked over to see how he was doing, and he's lost the lead. Travis Brown is now on top. Corey Latvala gets promoted to 2nd, Fulton to 3rd, and Johnson falls all the way to 4th.
Oh, my goodness. Heartbreak there for Michael Johnson. We said that he was looking for his first solo win of this season. I am just gutted for him right now.
And he's lost so much ground. I'm not sure he's even going to be able to get back on the podium unless he gets a spin out of one of them. Just sent it a little too hot, wheels into the dirt, and around he goes. And just, he can see them go by. He knows, he has to know the implications of that. And, man, yeah, I feel for him too. This is the 9. is down outside of the Champagne spraying positions, but it is still Rondeau leading in the GT2s. Raban is still in second. Schulem has easily dropped off of the back of him, so it's still status quo over there.
It is indeed. There you can see that battle. That is Freckleton trying to close in on the back of Jeffrey Schulem to take away that second place position. And as I said, Aaron Edwards behind him trying to keep his eyes open as well. Remember, Chad Duncan having a bad race here today. Aaron Edwards is going to want to try to maximize that to lock in that fourth place position.
Now, we didn't report on it on screen. Actually, I'm not sure if we saw it because we were in replay at the time. Corey Lotvilla took the fastest lap of the race by a good margin, 2/10 quicker than Michael Johnson's quickest lap with a 12.6. And that puts him within a second and a half of the leader. Whew. Ost trying to come back into things. He's still on the lead lap. And, well, he's got 12 seconds to make up to Paul Newton, and he's certainly looking like he's trying to make every inch of ground he can to try and get himself into the top 5. But Brown, let's see, last time a 13.3, Lotvilla a 13.1. This is not over. The battle for the lead in the GT1s is looking like it might come down to the final lap.
It very may well indeed, Joe. Travis Brown just trying to hold this out, and this is where it gets really terrifying if you are the leader, because you do not want to make a mistake like we saw Michael W. Johnson do, but you've also got to be pushing as hard as you can, trying to maximize speed.
Got about three laps left for our drivers here. In a moment as we come to the battle between Schulem and Freckleton. Freckleton really has been making up for the mistake that we missed earlier. We'll have to investigate to see what caused it, and has already caught up to third place, looking to see if he can get on the podium. So it's going to be a battle for P1 and a battle for P3 and GT1 and GT2 respectively.
It is indeed. Everything getting very, very spicy. We ride on board with Jerry Freckleton. He's just trying to follow behind Schulem best that he can, find the best area to get that move done.
Let's keep the cameras on this one because it is the closer fight right now. But Brown responded by going 1/10 of a second faster than Lotvilla last lap. He's not going out without a fight on this one. Into Moss Corner, trying to keep it from drifting out wide like we've seen a number of drivers already do today, but a great exit out of Freckleton. He's going to get the tow.
He is indeed. It's just a matter of if he's able to make something do with it or not. He tucks in behind that air, getting brushed off of Jeffrey Schulem's machine. Freckleton trying to hold it out. Is he going to make the move?
He's going to look to the inside, and he's going to be able to outbrake him into the corner, and he makes it stick. Fantastic stuff from the 57. And, whoop, don't go too wide out of the S's, though. Almost handed it back for a moment. That puts him onto the podium positions. We are coming to 2 to go for our overall leaders because Brown is just going by Aaron Edwards right now as he crosses the line. This time for Brown, 13.4. And for Lotvilla, a 12.8.
Corey Lotvilla back on the loud pedal and responding to the best that he can. Unfortunately, he got a little bit held up there by Mohmeier, but good news for him is that the leader, Travis Brown, is about to come on Jeffrey Schulem. He's got him. Question is now is if he can clear Jerry Freckleton by the time they get to Moss.
And even though Freckleton doesn't want to lose time himself, this is a battle for the lead here. And he's just going to be able to stay out of the way. Hopefully it doesn't cost him with Schulem. It's now down to 1.2 seconds. Lotvilla also slightly held up. And I thought Michael Johnson didn't have a shot at the podium. Well, he's trying to tell me no way, Jose, because he's got it down to 1.9 seconds up to BJ Fulton. He's got the afterburners on.
Yeah, he certainly does. All of these drivers really coming alive here in the closing stages of this race. That's a little close there with Raban.
It happens for both of them. Both Brown and Lotvilla get caught out by the 929. Our leader, our second place there in the GT2s. A little bit of contact, I think, with Lotvilla and his attempts trying to go by.
Yeah, it was either contact or there was a big puff of brake smoke. I couldn't be sure, Joe, but either way, gap is about 1 second, and I don't know if that's going to be enough for Corey Lottfeld to catch back up on.
So it's still helped out Lottfeld a little bit because it was 1.2 before that. And so they now go by the leader in the GT1s. We're getting the final lap, actually. Yeah, this should be the last lap for our GT1s. A little bit deep. He keeps it from spinning, but this allows Lottfeld to maybe get a little bit of a draft as our leader in the GT2 goes off. Robon is now right there as well. Suddenly, both races for the lead come alive on the last lap. Travis Brown has 0.3 of a second. Lottfeld will have to absolutely chuck it into one of these final three corners. I don't think he's nearly close enough. He does send it in deep. That's not enough. The 300 still has the track position. Into Whites. Does he dive it in? No. Travis Brown is going to take the win and clinch the championship in the GT1s. In the GT2s, it's down to 0.6 of a second. Despite Rondeau's mistake, he'll get win number 3 here today in the GT2 class.
An amazing job, even with that mistake on the last lap for Marc Rondeau. Michael Robon able to come in second, and behind him comes Jerry Freckleton, which will secure Freckleton's place as championship winner in the GT2 category.
Both championships wrapped up, and it both came down to a very intense battle at the end. But as we see him give a little congratulations to Robon for a second place, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in Endorse Series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We just watched the penultimate round here on the Porsche Owners Club Series, and in the end, we saw both championships, GT1 and GT2, wrapped up here today in the double points round. Travis Brown did so with a win to his name, just ahead of his rival, who was getting mighty close at the end. But even if Lottfeld had won, that wouldn't have been enough, and Travis still would have clinched as Corey took second place. BJ Fulton with a third was just ahead of Michael Johnson, who himself inherited the lead briefly in this race, but his own mistake cost him a chance at his first solo victory, and he didn't even get on the podium in the end. He was fourth. Paul Newton was in fifth, and Michael Oss was the last one on the lead lap. Starting from pole, could not repeat with another win. He wound up sixth, and Abrams was 2 laps down with multiple spins today in seventh.
In that GT2 field, it was Marc Rondeau who was able to take first place, followed by Michael Robon and Jerry Freckleton, claiming a podium here today and locking down that GT2 championship. Behind him, it was Jeffrey Shulam and Aaron Edwards, with John Momeyer in sixth and your pole sitter, Jad Duncan, all the way down in seventh.
And it looks like we have our winner in the GT1 class ready to talk to us. Winner and unofficially crowned champion as well, Travis Brown. The 300 driver has been working on this one all season long, and I'm sure this has got to be a huge relief here today. Travis, by our calculations, the championship is done with that win. How do you feel?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty pumped. This is a stiff competition. These guys know how to race, so it's definitely meaningful to lock it down. So, no, it feels great.
This is win number 9 for you. So you have been racking them up this season. What do you feel really made the difference to help you win this championship? Was it a consistency thing for you? Was it speed? What do you attribute it most to?
Yeah, I think at the end of the season it was more consistency. I feel like I had a little more pace in the RSR early on in the season, but everybody got used to it and got faster, and evidenced by only P4 in qualifying today. But I was able to knock out some consistent laps and really just minimize the mistakes today. Unfortunately, it's always a bummer when your competitors have offs and make mistakes that kind of cost them their spots, but at least there was no incidents between cars today. So as a league with especially the multi-class, that's a big deal because the wing wash here is pretty unreal coming down some of those sweepers. I was surprised by how much of an impact it had.
I'd believe it, honestly, from the races I've witnessed here. But you downplay yourself a little bit. You have to remember that it is not the driver who is quickest over a single lap. It is the driver who gets to that checkered flag first, and that is what you've done. Is there anybody you want to thank for today's victory?
Oh, I really got to give it to Corey. He was pushing me all season, right there on points. And especially the end of this race, it was no different. He was banking in, fast lap, purple lap after purple lap coming for me. So I'm glad there was, no more laps in the race because he was right there. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, it definitely had us on the edge of our seat. Not just you, but the GT2 one came down to it at the end as well. That was our winner, Travis Brown, and unofficially the champion here in the GT1 class. And I believe we've got Mark Rondeau with DJ, who was the winner here today in GT2.
We do indeed, Mark. Another day, another victory. That one, obviously, Jad had the issue and you inherited the lead, so you were able to just kind of cruise away there for the most part until that last lap.
Yeah, it was Jad was nice enough to hand it over to me. I'm not sure what happened to him because he definitely had the pace as he has all year and was driving really well. But when he spun in front of me, I was hoping he wouldn't hit me. And when that didn't happen, I just tried to hit my marks and set a good pace and stay ahead of Roban.
Well, I have to ask you, this is definitely the definition of an old school circuit. And do you like tracks like this, or do you like the stuff more like the Red Bull Ring or some of the more modern layouts that are out there?
I like this track. It's a fun track. It's challenging. Every corner's got its own idiosyncrasies and challenges. Nothing seems flat and everything seems like it's off camber. So if you try to go too fast, you're definitely going to pay the price. But yeah, it's a fun track.
Well, speaking of fun tracks, we head to Daytona next time out for the season finale, a 90-minute race. Any predictions, any thoughts on how it's going to go?
Just be nice to stay ahead of John Momeyer and have a chance at second in the class. I think Jerry's untouchable, but that'd be a nice way to finish the season for me.
Well, we are looking forward to it, Mark, as much as you are, it sounds like. So anybody you'd like to thank, though, for the win here today?
POC, of course, as always, you guys at GSRC, and my friends and family who are watching and I'm sure texting me right now.
Well, we'll let you get off to those texts then. That was Mark Rondeau, your winner here in the GT2 category. And now, Joe Peak, you've caught up with second place and one of the harder chargers in this race, Corey Lotvala.
Indeed. And for a while, the leader of this race. But Corey, the bad news is that is championship over. Were you doing the math in your head when you were leading? Were you aware of the situation before it kind of fell apart?
Oh, no. That was probably one of the last things I was thinking about during the race. I was most of that race, I was pretty upset, not going to lie.
I can understand that. The good news is, though, I guess this frees things up a little bit in the final round. There's no championship to worry about. It's all just the fun of who can be first to the finish at Daytona. Are you looking forward to that? That is one of my favorite tracks, if I'm honest.
Oh, yeah. I love that track, and I do love endurances. We've kind of been talking as a group if the championship was locked up in both classes, we were kind of thinking about jumping into the GT3s, the R or the Cup. I'm not quite sure. I think the R. That'd be pretty fun. So we'll see.
Well, great stuff. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to, especially now that things have wrapped up in this way?
Yeah, just all my friends and family that are watching. Definitely an interesting race. Schmidt Racing, Dave for sure, one of my biggest supporters out there. You guys for putting this on, always doing a great job in the POC. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And that was our second place finisher today, Corey Lotville, who still had plenty of speed and I think lots to be proud of this season. In the meantime, it looks like our second place finisher in the GT2s is with DJ.
He is indeed Michael Roban. How are you? That was a pretty close race there, especially at the end. Some crazy calamities coming in.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that I had that spin myself. I think on lap 17, or it was, I thought I was going to catch Rondo anyway. But yeah, it made it exciting for you guys at the end when Mark got the spin. I think going through Moss.
Yeah, it certainly did. I mean, talk me through your mentality when you see him make that spin. How hard were you pushing at that point?
Yeah, well, I saw an opening on the right-hand side, but I think it was BJ that came through, so I had to deal with the traffic a little bit, and I think that just threw me back a little bit, enough to let Rondo get back on the track in front of me. Otherwise, I think I would have had a nice shoot down on the inside, and I think I could have taken it, but I had to back off a little bit for DJ. But it made for fun. I wish I had another lap because I think I had some good pace in that race, and I think if we had one more lap, I would have caught him for sure.
Well, I'm kind of upset that you weren't able to. I'll be very honest about that. But when you're dealing on a track as tight as narrow as this, you brought it up, dealing with the traffic here. How hard does that get for you in this slower class of field?
It's pretty dicey. I mean, we've been racing together for a long time, so we all have pretty good communication. But, especially without that going through turns like turn 2, I mean, turn 2 could get super dicey when the traffic comes through, especially if you get caught in the middle. You kind of have to make a decision. Do you break a little more and pull out, or do you try to hang in there? If you're racing for position, it's a tough decision to make. But, as just one little off, that can end your race. So, I try to balance aggression with caution, when I'm dealing with the traffic, and tonight it worked out for me. So, but as this is a tough track on a multi-class.
Very, very difficult track indeed. But Michael, anybody you want to thank for this run tonight?
Well, thank you guys for rooting for me. I appreciate that. It's been a long time since I made it back to the podium. So thanks for cheering me on. But of course, all the sponsors for Porsche Owners Club. It's been a really fun year, and we've got one more race left, and I got all the sponsors on my car. So thanks to all of them for making it possible for us, and you guys are awesome.
Well, we are more than happy to do it, my friend. That was your second place finisher in GT2, Michael Roban. And now I believe, Joe, you've caught up with BJ Fulton.
Indeed, a third place, but similar to what we saw from Travis Brown, consistency was key. BJ, I noticed you went from 6th after the end of the first lap to 2nd at one point during this race, and ultimately in 3rd. Were you going at about 9/10 out there? Were you just kind of holding back just to let everybody else make mistakes? Oh, looks like we may have lost BJ Fulton there. We'll see if we can pull him in now as we get ready to talk to BJ. And there he is. Now we've got him in here. BJ, I was talking about how you managed to go from 6th on the first lap to all the way up to 2nd at one point during the race. How hard were you pushing? Was there's some being left on the table just so that you could see the checkered flag? Because it seemed like everybody else was falling off the mountain while you were just cruising. BJ, you got a copy? Looks like we might not get to talk to BJ here, unfortunately. So we'll try him a little bit later. In the meantime, DJ has caught up with our unofficially crowned GT2 champion, Jerry Freckleton.
I have indeed. Jerry, congratulations, my friend. You're on top of the world.
Well, we sure are, and we really appreciate the congratulations. Man, what a race today was, huh, guys? It was exciting all over the place.
It was indeed absolutely heartbreaking, or heart-wrenching, rather. Talk me through that from your perspective. Talk me through what it was like for you behind the scenes.
What's going on is I got behind Roban, and Roban are both coached by Michael Johnson, right? And we really wanted Roban to get on the podium. So I was behind him, and we both had very, very similar car setups. I always change mine a little bit to how I think would be better for me. And so I was just following him and hanging out and just waiting to the checkered flag. And I was telling Michael when some RSRs were coming up on top of us, right? So he would be aware of it. And the one RSR went by. And what did I do? I told Michael, but I'm watching the RSR. Next thing I know, I missed my turn. So after that, it was like a big push. And a couple of my friends, John and stuff, he allowed me to get by him. And I can't believe that we caught up to Mark. So it was quite a race. It was a lot of fun.
Well, you caught him up indeed, and you sure made it pretty exciting for us over here, I've got to tell
you. Well, I hope we got a lot of press.
Me too. But we head into another exciting track next time out in the form of the big, bad Daytona. How do you think that's going to go?
You know what? Back in 1987, I used to manufacture racing enduro karts, and I won the world championship in one of the go-kart classes. So we're really excited about going there, and we might have a big surprise for you guys when you come on next.
Oh, well, I quiver with anticipation hearing that. Now I'm just excited. Well, we look forward to that, Jerry.
Just real quick, back in 87, I started 80th on the starting grid, and in 2.5 laps, I took the lead, and I was the only one to finish 24 laps in an hour. So it was a lot of fun that year.
Well, fantastic.
So we'll see.
We look forward to the homecoming, as it were, for you as it comes around.
Yeah.
There. But anybody you want to thank for this year and for...
you know what? I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for what you're doing and how you're making it fun for not only my family, as all the families and all the people that watch your show. And I really want to thank Michael Johnson. I mean, he really helped me. He's what got me where I'm at now, you know, and of course, my girlfriend Denise, and especially my dog, Mr. Peabody. And last of all, least is Airwolf 3D.
Well, we are more than happy to hear it. And go ahead, Jerry, and go have a good celebration with the girlfriend and the dog. Congratulations again.
Well, thanks again. And we've already started on the buzzballs. So you guys have a great evening, and hopefully we can talk to you next race.
Hopefully we can, Jerry. That was Jerry Freckleton, your 2021 unofficial GT2 champion.
We got one more we're going to try. It looks like we hopefully have BJ Fulton working. BJ, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I hope so.
Excellent. We hear you loud and clear. I'll go back to the question I was asking. How hard were you pushing? Because it felt like you were just kind of cruising at 9/10 while everybody else fell off the mountain.
Yeah, that was kind of the plan today. I knew I was well off the pace from the start of practice today, and so I just cranked up the downforce, went with a nice stable setup, and hoped people in front of me went off, because I had done that myself way too many times.
I think that's a good plan at a track like this. I can tell you that is a very valid strategy. Knowing that the next time out, though, is going to have a lot more slipstreaming, are you going to change up strategy? You're going to try and be more aggressive when we head off to Florida?
Definitely. I'm excited to see what this championship standings look like after this race, but I'm hoping to go for a win this season. I'm still looking for my first, so it would be nice to close out the season with my first.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that should certainly help you, because I think without Salehi here today, you should be jumping up the order a good amount. Well, congratulations on a podium. It was well earned. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before you go?
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just thank the POC and the sponsors, Octavia, Sunset, and Century. And I'll thank a couple of my competitors for hitting the grass and going off in front of me.
I understand the sentiment. That was BJ Fulton, who finished in third today, which is going to wrap up our interviews. And of course, before we wrap up the broadcast, we want to thank the sponsors, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Thanks goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed here. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, the next time is going to be the finale. That'll be Daytona on Monday, December 13th at 11 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.